Have you ever noticed that the moment you wake up, before your feet even touch the floor, you're already fighting yourself? Not about something big, about something small. Whether to check the phone, whether to get up, whether today is going to go the way you planned, or the way it always seems to go instead. And afterward, you call it what everyone else calls it. Laziness. Lack of discipline. Weak willpower. You tell yourself the problem is that you simply don't want it badly enough. That's the misconception. That's what most people believe about themselves. And it's wrong. The truth is quieter and far more interesting. That internal fight you keep losing isn't evidence of weakness. It's evidence of a mind that is paying closer attention than most people's minds ever do. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand the real psychology behind 7 things you've probably been punishing yourself for. And underneath every single one of them, you'll find the same pattern. Not a flaw. A form of awareness most people never develop. This isn't a video about trying harder. You've already tried harder. You've read the advice, made the plans, promised yourself Monday would be different. That's not the missing piece. The missing piece is understanding what your own behavior has actually been telling you, if you'd stopped long enough to listen instead of judging it. So let's stop judging it. Let's actually look at it. Sign 1. You notice the moment your day goes off track. You feel it instantly. One wrong decision in the first few minutes of your morning, and something in you already knows the whole day has shifted. People assume this means you're rigid, too sensitive to small disruptions, unable to just relax and go with it. But that's not what's happening. This is not rigidity. This is a highly calibrated internal monitoring system. Psychologists studying self-regulation call this early warning detection. Most people don't notice drift until the damage is already done. You notice it in real time while it's still small enough to correct. Your sensitivity to small shifts isn't weakness. It's precision. You are not fragile. You are finely tuned. Think about how rare that actually is. Most people can lose an entire morning to distraction and not even register it happened until the evening arrives and they wonder where the day went. You never get that luxury. Some part of you is always keeping score in real time, whether you asked it to or not. Sign 2. You resist doing things in the order other people expect. Someone hands you a to-do list, a routine, just do it like this, instruction, and something in you quietly refuses. This gets labeled stubbornness. Difficulty taking direction, an inability to just follow a system. What's actually happening is an unconscious insistence on internal locus of control. The psychological need to feel like the author of your own sequence, not a passenger in someone else's. Research on autonomy and motivation consistently shows that agency, not instruction, is what sustains behavior over time. You don't struggle with structure. You struggle with structure that isn't yours. That's not defiance. That's self-authorship. And here's what almost nobody tells you about that resistance. It isn't there to sabotage you. It's there to protect a version of yourself you haven't fully built yet, the one who moves through the world on terms you actually chose. Sign 3. You feel guilty resting until the important thing is done. You can't fully relax with something unfinished sitting in the back of your mind. Even small tasks feel like they're quietly following you around. People call this anxiety, or perfectionism, or an inability to switch off. But this is the Zeigarnik effect in motion. The well-documented tendency of the mind to keep unfinished tasks active in working memory until they're resolved. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's holding a thread open because it already knows the thread matters. You don't lack the ability to relax. You lack the ability to lie to yourself about what still needs attention. That's not dysfunction. That's integrity running quietly in the background. Some people can set a task down and genuinely forget it exists until it's convenient to remember. You were never built that way, and it's easy to resent that about yourself. But the version of you that can't fully switch off is also the version that rarely lets anything important quietly disappear. Sign 4. You overanalyze your own small habits. You catch yourself dissecting tiny patterns. Why you check your phone at a certain moment. Why you stall before starting something. Why some mornings work and others don't. This gets dismissed as overthinking, as making a simple thing complicated. as needing to just stop analyzing and act. But this is metacognition, thinking about your own thinking. And it is one of the strongest predictors of long-term behavior change in the research literature. People who never examine their patterns rarely change them. You are doing voluntarily what most self-improvement programs spend months trying to teach people to do. You are not overthinking your life. You are auditing it. That is not paralysis. That is the first and hardest step almost everyone else skips. Most people will change their environment 10 times before they ever examine the pattern underneath it. New apps, new planners, new routines, same result. You went looking for the actual mechanism instead. That's not a smaller task. It's a harder one, and you're already doing it. Sign 5. Your own inconsistency frustrates you more than it should. When you break your own pattern, miss a morning, slip back into an old habit, the frustration hits harder than the moment seems to deserve. This looks like being too hard on yourself. Unreasonable. Perfectionistic in an unhealthy way. But that frustration is a signal, not a symptom. It reflects an internalized standard, a version of yourself you've already built in your mind and are actively measuring against. Psychologists refer to this gap between the ideal self and the current self as a primary engine of behavior change, not a source of self-punishment when it's channeled correctly. Your frustration isn't proof you're failing. It's proof you already know what you're capable of. You wouldn't be frustrated by falling short of a standard you didn't already believe you could meet. Nobody gets frustrated chasing a version of themselves they don't believe is real. The fact that the gap bothers you is the clearest evidence that the bar isn't imaginary. You've seen yourself hit it before, and some part of you refuses to accept anything less as the new normal. Sign 6. You need stillness before you can face the world. Before notifications, before conversations, before input, you need a window of quiet, or the whole day feels like it starts on the back foot. This gets read as antisocial, overly sensitive, unable to just dive in like everyone else seems to. But this is cognitive load management. Your nervous system is doing something most people never learn to do deliberately, regulating stimulation before demand hits, instead of absorbing chaos and trying to recover from it afterward. That is not avoidance. That is preemptive self-regulation, and it's a skill, not a limitation. You don't need less resilience. You already understand something most people spend years in therapy learning, that protecting your first moments protects everything after them. It's not that the world is too much for you. It's that you refuse to let the world set the terms of your first few minutes without a fight. That instinct, the one that keeps getting mistaken for fragility, is actually one of the most protective habits a mind can build. Sign 7. You feel behind compared to people who seem naturally disciplined. You watch other people move through their mornings and their goals with what looks like effortless consistency, and you quietly wonder what's wrong with you. This gets internalized as inadequacy, proof that everyone else has something you don't. But what looks like effortless consistency in other people is almost always invisible repetition you never witnessed. Comparison bias systematically overweights other people's highlight reels and underweights their private failures. You're not comparing your full picture to theirs. You're comparing your rough draft to their final cut. You're not behind. You're simply the only person whose entire process you've actually seen. If you could watch everyone else's private footage the way you watch your own, most of that comparison would quietly dissolve on its own. It was never a fair fight. It just felt like one, because you were the only contestant showing up to be honest. Now look at what's actually been true this whole time. You're not lazy. You're precise. You're not stubborn. You're self-directed. You're not anxious. You're holding threads other people drop. You're not overthinking. You're auditing what most people never examine. You're not too hard on yourself. You already know your own ceiling. You're not antisocial. You're regulating before the world demands it of you. And you're not behind. You're just the only one watching your own footage in full. Individually, each of these looks like friction. Together, they form something else entirely. A mind that observes itself instead of running on autopilot. That is rare. Most people go their entire lives reacting to themselves without ever once turning around to look. You already turned around. That's not a flaw you need to fix. That's a level of self-awareness most people never reach. And once you see it this way, you can't fully unsee it. The next time you catch yourself mid-struggle, mid-hesitation, mid-frustration with your own patterns, you won't just feel the friction anymore. You'll recognize it for what it actually is. Evidence, not evidence against you. If even one of these 7 signs described a version of you, you already know which one hit hardest. Comment the number. Just the number. 1 through 7. Not because it proves anything to anyone else. Because naming it out loud, in writing, is the first act of actually owning it instead of apologizing for it. You were never undisciplined. You were just the only one paying close enough attention to notice.